big right hand by Mayweather. It's just a matter of how much more of this could he take. 3, 4.
Openings from a distance.
That right hand is landing very accurately now from Broner.
Nice short left.
Was landing the clean, effective blows. Then as the round goes on, here comes Margarito with this sort of accumulation of punches where eventually he started penetrating and landing his shots. Rough round to score.
There's her dreaming down the left eye. That may have been caused by that right belt away from Andrew Maloney. Oh, he snapped his head back! Franco does damage to Maloney. Of Andrew.
And, you know, who was your biggest opponent that you ever fought in the ring?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. As far as name value or, you know, I don't know.
Talent in the ring, that's good all the way around the ring.
The best, I mean, I would say the best guy I'd ever gotten in the ring with in a competitive, not just because I've wrestled everybody, when I was a jobber. But as far as having like a competitive match, I would say Sean and maybe Razor, Scott Hall. Sean, I wrestled in Niagara Falls for the Intercontinental title. It was before he was the WWE champion for the first time. It was supposed to be him and Razor. And Razor's flight, something happened. It got canceled, whatever. He didn't make it. So they bumped me up. It was a house show for the Intercontinental title. We went about 15 minutes. And it was a hell of a match. There's no footage of it because they didn't tape the house shows back then. But I always remember that being a really dope match. And another one, I would say, I got Scott Hall to come to ECW in 2000, and I was ECW world champion at the time. And we headlined a show in New York where it's funny, where we used to do Monday Night Raws, and where he had his big feud with the 1-2-3 Kid, so Scott and I main evented that building together for the ECW world title. So that was cool. That was cool. I enjoyed those two.
Wow, that's real dope, because it's cool that you say the house shows, because I remember going to the house shows with my dad. RIP, he died when I was 8 years old, right after he showed me wrestling, basically.
Right.
And, but he used to take me to the house shows, and I would go down to the Freeman Coliseum here in San Antonio, and I would run down the staircase and everything to go down to the ramp area just to touch the wrestlers' hands.
Yeah, I remember the Freeman Coliseum. Is that still there?
Yeah, it's still there, but it's hardly anything goes there.
Yeah.
From time to time.
Yeah, so, they got a new building now, don't they?
Yeah, they got the AT&T Center. Now it's really a no-name center, because they're about to, they lost the name, basically, I think. I think next year, I think they're gonna have a new name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the old Freeman Coliseum was cool, and I think that they did. I remember they did the SummerSlam over there. Was it SummerSlam with Chuck Norris?
I want to say it was. Well, it's so far back.
No, it was either SummerSlam or Survivor Series. It might have been. I remember because it was, I just remember because Jose Lothario and Shawn Michaels had something going on, and I remember it was Survivor Series in '94, and that's a long time ago. But I remember because Chuck Norris was there. He was like the special guest referee for the Yokozuna Undertaker match, and it was stupid. And Chuck Norris gave Yokozuna, a fucking karate kick into the coffin. It was like a casket match. It was funny. But I always remember the Freeman Coliseum. We used to rock that place.
Oh man, I loved every second of that place. It was
back in the day though, the fans for WWF, man, they the business was kind of dying, especially in San Antonio. It was a hot wrestling town, but fans just weren't coming out as much. Now it's different. The territory pop, but back then it was we always had a hard time putting people in the seats down there. I don't know why, but
did y'all do y'all did shows for ECW, right? In San Antonio?
Yep, we did San Antonio, we did Dallas. I'd like to. I don't remember what the name of the places we did. I know the one in Dallas was a really nice, like 3,500 seater Metroplex, maybe.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Actually,
Yeah.
to an ECW show. I just couldn't remember exactly what year it was though.
Down there in Texas.
Yeah, in Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, I think it was the Metroplex, if I'm not mistaken. It held like I think we did a pay-per-view from there.
It was a while, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like 2000. You know, but it was. I remember us doing really good business in Texas. Texas was hot for ECW. You know, I wish it would have continued, because if ECW, man, wrestling had taken a turn, because if you really think about it, it all happened at once around 2001. Vince bought WCW, and ECW went out of business. So it went from having 3 wrestling companies that were big and prominent to all of a sudden Vince just taking everything up. You know, and that left the wrestling business so effed up. Not until the last couple of years with AEW and all these other places kind of doing better and having places for full-time wrestlers to go. It was horrible for the guys and gals, man. I mean, imagine having like 400 wrestlers employed by 3 companies, and then all of a sudden, like 2 companies are done. Half of those people, maybe, you know, let's say 250 of those 400 employed people now don't have jobs. Vince can only take so many. I was lucky enough to go right to WWE after ECW. For a couple of years, but not a lot of people got that opportunity. So for a long time, a lot of the guys from my generation kind of got screwed over as far as having opportunities and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a crazy time.
That's wild. I'll touch on that in a few, but I wanted to ask you about the Impact players. How was the time? You know, the run with Lance Storm. I know y'all had some title runs.
Yeah.
And, you know, with having the I guess it's like a valet, right? As Don Marie.
Yeah.
How were those days?
Those were awesome. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Lance was, you know, like the first person I met in the business. He helped train me. You know, he was my mentor, really, my teacher. So when we got together, it wasn't our idea, it was Paulie's idea the whole time. But we were very excited, and I just loved it, man. We were so tight. And what was cool about the Impact players was, you know, we were very similar, because our training was, you know, from the same area, the same guys, the Hearts. But, you know, Lance was very straight laced, and he had the wrestling tights and the boots and stuff, where I had the, you know, the grunge look, like the jean shorts, the t-shirts, the cane, you know, a little more hardcore, even though I did do like wrestling. So like the Impact players worked because we knew each other very well. We were so different yet so together. Like, you know, I was the loud one. Lance was like the more of the, you know, if I could be serious for a moment, but we complemented each other well. You know what I mean? It was like that perfect, like what Lance is not, I am, and what I am not, Lance is. Like we filled each other's voids a little bit, you know, like the weak spots, like one made up for the other in certain aspects. So it clicked perfectly, you know?
Yeah. I just remember I always replay like y'all's entrance. And you're on the ropes, and you have the Kindle stick.
Yeah.
Just holding it up. And I was telling my brother about that the other day, and he was like, I don't remember him ever having a candlestick.
Yeah. And if you remember the pose, that was Shawn and Diesel pose. Because I had the kendo stick behind him, and he came and did the flex. You know, that was Shawn and Kevin, you know, doing that. That's where I ripped that off of. You know, that was kind of like a tribute to those guys.
What did they say? What was their reaction?
Oh, they thought it was awesome. They loved it. Not a lot of people put that one together, though, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, when I see that, I'm just like, and then it reminds me of Shawn and then Diesel.
Yeah, that's directly where I got that from. Yeah.
And that's nice, bro. And it's dope, man, to hear that you have so much, you allegiance to Sean, and that's
Oh
really,
yeah,
bro. That's
absolutely. He was one of the reasons I got into the business as a fan. I thought he was one of the greatest ever to do it. So just having the opportunity to be friends with them and just sleep at his home and have that kind of relationship was cool. It was very nice.
dope, bro. So what was your favorite moment? Tag teaming with Lance.
Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you this: it won't sound like much, but him and I still talk about it sometimes when we get together. We had this amazing match in the ECW arena in Philadelphia against. We were the tag team champions, and it was against a great tag team from Japan called Gato and Jado from FMW. I think Gato books for New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. And we had this just amazing killer match that it was just, that's just what I recall. Like the fans were so hot. The spots were so tight. It was just one of those things where everything seemed to click. And I know it was on television and stuff. But it wasn't for any other reason than it was just a great match, and it wasn't of very much significance. It doesn't get a lot of press these days, like some other stuff. But for Lance and I, we always talk about that match. It was just one of those things. It was probably the best match we'd ever had at the time. Definitely.
And that was a defending of the titles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope, bro. And let's see here. So, going towards, like, I've always wanted to ask, a wrestler from that era, the whole Attitude Era was something, and being a fan, big fan at that time, I kind of felt the change of everything, of WCW, ECW, and then the whole storyline with Vince and Shane. Shane buying the company. He was in I think he was in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
And, buying the company and leading up towards WrestleMania 17, and Shane having the WCW guys up in the stands and the Astrodome, and then soon after the invasion happened. How did that go about? How did because I know y'all weren't doing shows right at that time,
right? Yeah.
What did how was that whole thing came about?
I don't even remember. You mean the invasion stuff?
Yeah. How did they tell you? Did they all get everyone together and be like, "Oh, y'all are gonna tag team up with ECW and take on WWF"? Was it something like that?
No, not at all. They just would basically just tell you what your individual piece was. They really didn't say much of anything. To this day, it's still kind of like that up there. They never gave you like the big picture. They just kind of told you what they wanted from you and how, and that was it really. They didn't give you a lot of information about how the story as a whole was going to be laid out and portrayed. So we really didn't have a lot of information on it. We were just kind of flying blind, really, and just kind of told what to do, and not how all the dots are going to be connected.
Wow. I just remember rewatching the night that Stone Cold was at the bar during the show, and then he comes back and he speeds up and breaks right in front of all of y'all that are outside fighting. And you were the first one that came up to him and swung at him. And then I think he hits you with one of his tools or something like that.
Yeah.
Living in that time, man, that thing was so hyped.
It was. It really was.
All the way. Are we going out tonight? All the way. I'ma chug the bottle, chug it all the way. Made it this far.